All right, let's bring in now the Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization, Donald Trump Jr., joining us today. Good to see you, Don.
Thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you guys. How are you?
We're doing good. How's your dad? Have you spoken to him recently? I mean, as we watch this, and
That's
sort of America is watching this together, we kind of take a collective sigh and say, you know, an arraignment for the former president in D.C., 10 minutes from the White House?
Yeah, listen, I laugh because at this point it's like Taco Tuesday. It's a regular occurrence. It usually happens right after actual criminal stuff is found on Hunter and or Joe Biden. Amazingly enough, these things drop the day after that, and all of the people that I've listened every time my father tweeted Merry Christmas that said it was bigger than Watergate. Those people are strangely silent right now with everything that we're finding out about the Bidens. Mainstream media, even some of your competition on the conservative side of media, eschewing the January 6th talking points. I mean, we're really living in crazy times. I spoke to my father the other day, right after it was announced, and honestly, he was doing great. We were laughing about things. Not that it's not serious, but I think everyone understands exactly what's in play. Each one of these things, I think, only solidifies that to the American people, just how far we have fallen as a country, just how corrupt the Biden administration and their weaponized form of government is. And, hopefully that wakes up people, because, this doesn't end well for our country, for our civilization. This is scary stuff. And it was happening in third world banana republics. We'd be doing something about it, but it's happening right here at home in America. It's scary.
Well, on that note, and kind of piggybacking to Bianca's question, about your dad, look, this is the enormity, the weight of the pressure that he's under right now. As strong as he is, as many talented, smart people as he has around him, this has got to be incredibly stressful for him. And as his son, it must be a concern about how he's dealing with this. I know he plays golf and that's therapeutic, but do you talk to him about, Dad, how are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? I know you were just kind of sharing some of the color, how he's laughing about it. But man, I mean, anybody would crack under this, but your dad, he's facing it. And not only that, not only the indictments, but a campaign. He's in the middle of a campaign. Have you talked to him about how he's feeling? Yeah.
I'd say we're probably built a little different, and I think we've gotten used to this, right? One of the things we were literally joking about was, hey, I remember back during the Russia days, where the head of the Intelligence Committee wanted to try me for treason, a crime punishable by death. That's become the norm for us. This is how the Democrats function. Republicans, need to get a backbone and start fighting back and doing something about it, not just, saying nice things on TV or Twitter. They actually, use the appropriations process, stop some of the funding of this insanity. But no, literally, I was joking with my father. I was like, oh, well, now one of the charges in the new one is literally, they could bring up the death penalty in there. I was like, oh, we have more in common now. We both share that together. So whether we're built differently or whether it's just, we've gotten so accustomed to this. We're not supposed to be. That's not supposed to be, a normal reaction. But for anyone who's been watching, this didn't start, 2 months ago with the first indictments. This started 8 years ago, 7 years ago with the original Russia. Then they impeached Trump for actually asking about Joe Biden's corruption. That seems like it's pretty evident now. They impeached Trump for asking about what Joe Biden did. I mean, think about that.
Well, I'm glad you went there because
about doing it to Joe Biden.
That came up with the Devin Archer testimony. A key point there about Victor Shokin and about the pressure that Hunter was on. You're a son of a president here. We learned also from this testimony that there apparently was the Biden brand. Who knew that they had a brand that they wanted to sell too? That they were talking about. Your reaction to that testimony transcript that just dropped a few hours ago, when you read it and look through it, it's about 145 pages. So I'm sure people have skimmed it and the highlights there. How do you react to some of the confirmation of calls that were going on, dinners, Paris, China?
But guys, we all knew this. This is, the testimony's now in the official transcript, but are we pretending that everyone didn't know? The FBI had stuff on this stuff going back to 2018. They allowed him to run. They allowed him to win. Nothing happened. If they could have, they would have swept it under the rug. Our Justice Department 2 weeks ago wanted to give Hunter a sweetheart deal, not just for the tax evasion, not just for the criminal gun possession, but blanket immunity for literally anything and or everything else he may have done that hasn't yet surfaced. Or, again, I wrote a book about this. I wrote it in the summer of 2020. I wrote Liberal Privilege, talking about many of these things. These were known. It's known in D.C. It's a thing. And yet our government has chosen to ignore it. This weaponized Justice Department has chosen to ignore it and instead go after not just their political enemies and their competition like Donald Trump. That's pretty disgusting. But these people have been going after Catholics who would pray outside of an abortion clinic. Yeah. They've gone after and labeled concerned mothers who don't want their children indoctrinated by the radicals that are running the school boards. A parent at a school board meeting has been labeled domestic terrorists.
Yeah,
not because they
it's
did
an upside
anything
down
violent, but for questioning that narrative or not wanting their children simply indoctrinated. Like, how about our kids maybe, I don't know, learn math? Is it that complicated? Those people have been labeled domestic terrorists. Now, actual domestic terrorists, like, the magical car that drove itself through a Christmas parade in, I guess it was Wisconsin, well, that's, the car did it, obviously, not the idiot driving the car, right? That's the insanity in which we live right now. Those are the people that are making decisions. The people who, had nothing to say about the summer of love, burning, looting, arson, rioting, taking over buildings, had no problem locking up people for January 6th. Some people who were there simply as tourists taking selfies, walking between the velvet ropes.
And we're watching as your father just arrived at Newark Liberty Airport to board Trump Force One to head to Washington, D.C. I want to get your thoughts and your reaction to a Washington Post story about Obama and Biden meeting up. Obama warning about your dad's political strengths in a private talk with Joe Biden. Apparently, according to the Post, former President Obama promised in the White House lunch to do all he can for President Biden's reelection. I'm wondering, though, if the former president will still feel that way if the allegations of corruption and bribery are indeed proved to be true. Do you think he will, or are we starting to see? Are we starting to? Okay, go ahead.
Guys, are we pretending? Are we pretending that these people have any shame? Joe Biden's an imbecile. He can't get up a flight of stairs. He can't remember where he is. He can't remember how to get off a stage that he entered minutes before. It's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden's the dumb idiot that will sign anything that they put in front. So the radicals who are actually in charge, the radical communists who are pulling the strings, they love Joe Biden because they're actually accomplishing much more towards what they want to achieve with Joe Biden than they ever could with Barack Obama, because Barack Obama wouldn't destroy his legacy to do so.
Well, we clearly know if your dad
wins. That are so flagrantly anti-American, but they'll happily throw Joe Biden under there. These people don't have any shame. They don't play by the rules. They don't care about decency or our Constitution or anything. They're just playing to win. We're playing t-ball while they're playing hardball, and they're playing for keeps. That should be really evident to people. So Joe Biden's just the guy that signs the, whatever the radicals are putting in front of him. He's nothing more to them than that. Of course, they'll go all in, regardless of what happens.
We clearly know, though, if your dad gets in, though, that all goes away there. The swamp knows it well. He's got his number.
So much because they know he's the only Republican. Hey, now he's got an axe to grind. Now he also knows he didn't have the advantage of having that inside baseball coming in as a total outsider in 2016. Now he knows, and that's why he's such a threat to them. That's why they keep adding more and more and more, hoping just to get him one little way, because they don't want the threat to their power taken away. And he's the only one that's a threat.
Two quick questions. One is your dad planning on saying anything this evening after some of these other indictments? He's given some speeches, number one. Number two, I know he met with some executives with another network about doing a debate. Is that going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're there kissing his butt to make sure he does it, telling him that, whatever it is to make it happen, because I think no one would tune in to watch a bunch of people polling at 0.2%. debate. I think that would probably be a ratings disaster for them. There's two parts of it. The guy that puts out memes on a daily basis, I sort of want to see him debate because I think it'll be great for content. I think, on the other hand, the tactician in me says, like, why on earth would you let that person polling at 0.2%, like knowing full well their only chance of being even remotely relevant is if they come at the king. Why would you give that person, 2 hours of unfettered access to dump on you? That doesn't make any sense. So I would hope he doesn't do it. I don't know if he has remarks planned for tonight after the thing. I imagine he'll say something. He's not one of these guys that needs to pre-plan these things or pre-script them. He's what you see is what you get. So I imagine he'll have some probably off-the-cuff remarks later on. But I hadn't actually spoken to him today about what's going on.
Gotcha.
Well, as you can see, he's there. He's on the tarmac. I'm about to get on Trump Force One, heading down to D.C. Donald Trump Jr., good to see you. And thanks for joining us today to kind of get some of your thoughts on this third indictment.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure, guys. Be well.
You too.